Hello, my name is Demarius, and my goal is to support you on your PC journey. In our last video, we decided what parts you should buy based off of your budget. Now today is the actual fun part of assembling your PC, and I want you to just remember that building a PC is just like cooking. You just need to follow the steps, not rush the process, and make sure you don't drop anything expensive. Part 1. Preparation. Before you start building your PC, you're going to need some tools to help you out. These include a screwdriver to install the parts, an anti-static mat so you don't fry any components, thermal paste for your CPU. However, you have to check beforehand if your CPU cooler comes with some. You will also need lots of patience and probably emotional support. And as a heads up, make sure you're not working on a carpet unless you want to have static electricity jump scares. Part 2. Motherboard and CPU plus CPU cooler. First, we'll start off by taking your motherboard outside of the box and placing it on top of it. And this would be the time to place your motherboard on an anti-static mat if you do have one. Although, I'll prefer putting on a box as it provides extra safety for any pins at the bottom. And if you need any support, look at the manual that your motherboard came with. Now on your motherboard, there's an area for your CPU. It looks like a lever. You can gently open the lever and place your CPU inside of the socket. Now make sure that the arrow on the CPU lines up with the arrow on your motherboard, so you don't accidentally put the CPU in the wrong spot. And I would say the keyword here is gently. For example, if you shove the CPU in, then congratulations, you now need a refund. Now when the CPU is actually placed in, this is the time where the keyword doesn't necessarily work out, because you have to put a little bit of pressure on the lever to make it fully close. But when this is done, we can finally move on to adding thermal paste. Now you just need a pea-sized dotted thermal paste. You do not need a spoonful or a puddle of thermal paste for it to work. And if you want, you could use a spread tool to spread the thermal paste evenly. And now that we have our CPU secured, you can flip the motherboard over and secure the CPU socket. But just be careful not to put any thermal paste on the box, because if this happens, you'll probably have to reapply it. Now this tutorial will not be very specific as there's many different parts to choose from, so I highly suggest you search up the company's name for your CPU and your CPU socket and your CPU cooler to find a detailed explanation on how to actually install it, as this video is a completely brief overview and I'm not describing specific parts. Part 3. RAM and storage. Now at the top of your motherboard, there is an area where there's 4 slots. These are what we call RAM slots. Now before adding your sticks of RAM in, you should look at the manual to see where you should place the RAM sticks, since most motherboards are completely different. However, these slots should be called A2 and B2, but this only works if you have 2 slots of RAM. If you have 4, you don't need to worry about this at all. Just open up the RAM slot with the 2 levers at the front and the back. Place your RAM stick in, press it down gently until you hear both of the levers click into themselves automatically, and then you're done. But also make sure the RAM is lined up properly and it's fully plugged in, because sometimes there might be a click and it's not fully plugged in. Now for the storage, if you have NVMe SSDs, look at the user's manual on the motherboard to see where you should install them. However, for most motherboards, you just need to unscrew the hatch and plug in the storage just like how you would plug in the RAM. All you need to do is just line it up and install it. And remember, the closer the NVMe drive SSD is towards the CPU, the more it's prioritized within the PC, which means that its performance gets boosted. Part 4. Motherboard into case. Now, inside your case, it should come with some screws ranging from 9 to 12 for your motherboard. All you have to do is mount your board and make sure it lines up with the holes on the case, screw it in, and try not to drop any screws into the black hole dimension of the case below. Part 5. Cables and PSU. In my opinion, this is one of the scariest parts within the PC. But trust me, every one of the cables have somewhat of a marked area. Again, if it doesn't fit, don't try to force it in. And remember that better cable management equals better performance, and your future self will thank you if there happen to be any troubleshooting issues within your PC. And if you need further and more detailed help, look up the PSU's name on the internet and look for any PC tutorials with it, as every PSU is different in some way. Part 6. GPU and CPU cooler. Now, for the CPU cooler at the start, we only installed the bracket. So soon we'll be going over what to do with the other part, with the fans and the radiator. But first, let's talk about the GPU. After the previous task, the GPU is probably one of the easier parts that you have to plug in. You just need to unscrew the GPU holder on the side of your case that look like 5 to 7 brackets lined up in a stacked order like a ladder, and screwing it into that while plugging in the GPU as if it's a piece of RAM into the motherboard. And the same thing with the NVMe drive. The higher the port is for the GPU, the more performance it will get. And sadly, I know I was just talking about the second part of the CPU cooler, but for me to be talking about so many different products at the same time, while each one is completely different, I suggest that you look up the products tutorial on YouTube and follow it. After installing all your parts, you could add your case fans in the exact same order that I stated in the first video, with intake on the bottom or right side of your case and exhaust on the left side or upper part. And this is due to the fact that hot air rises and cold air mostly sits at the bottom, allowing colder air to enter your system, keeping your parts cooler. Now I suggest you go through every single part and make sure they're all plugged in and secured, and with that, you're done building your first ever PC. In the next video, we'll be describing different ways and different methods you can overclock your PC for the best performance. Now, if you found this video easy to understand and quite helpful, please like and subscribe so this pops up on someone else's For You page. And if you still find some things odd or confusing, send me a comment and I'll help you out with it. You can also check out the other channels that helped me when I first started building my PCs. Their channels will be in the video's description. And again, thank you for watching my 4th video on my PC series.